Gaze reading where the greats drop by. Trendy authors tell us all the who, what, and why. Anyone can listen, cause we're spoiler free. Gaze reading, from Pulitzer stars to book club picks, where the curious minds can get their fix. So you say you're not gay, well that's okay. There's something for everyone. Gaze reading.
Hello and welcome to Gaze Reading What's the Tea? I'm your host, Jason Blitman. Welcome back to those who have joined us before. Happy to have you here if you are new to Gaze Reading. What's the Tea is our new series where we ask an author to describe their book using 3 words, starting with the letters T, E, and A. It's been a really fun new series. Check out the couple others that I've done so far wherever you get your podcasts. Speaking of, like and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts and leave us a 5-star review if you can, if you have the time. It makes it so much easier for folks to find us when all of those things happen, and it is greatly appreciated. Make sure to follow us on social media at Gaze Reading. On Instagram, we have new giveaways every week. We are also over on YouTube. You could subscribe to the YouTube channel. The link to that is in the show notes and also in the link tree on the Instagram. And if you are unfamiliar, if you have not heard, I'm so excited to share that we are partnering with Aardvark Book Club to provide an exclusive introductory discount. New members to Aardvark Book Club in the United States can join today. Enter the code Gaze Reading at checkout and get your first book for only $4 and free shipping. Aardvarkbookclub.com to learn more and enter the code Gaze Reading for $4 for your first book. Today, I'm having tea with Broadway's Chad Beguelin talking to me about his new debut novel. Welcome, Chad. Chad, thank you for joining me today.
Thanks for
tea time.
Yes.
On my very first episode of this, I acknowledged that I didn't have a teacup, and so I was like drinking from a mug. And I've since had multiple friends send me teacups just from listening to that episode, which is very sweet. So I'm coming to you today from this like very classic.
Ooh.
I know. How cute is that?
It's like red delft.
Yes. Literally.
It's very cute.
It's China made in England. There's
Wow.
a little crown at the bottom. Very.
See,
it's so legit. I know. So talk about tea time. It's empty because
we're not gonna
I
drink
just
it.
need the prop, but that's all I need.
Exactly.
You are here to tell us about your new and first, which is shocking to me, novel, Showmance.
Yes.
Chad, tell us, what's the tea?
If I have to sum it up with 3
it's a
words,
good exercise for people.
It would be 2 enemies aroused.
Okay, I'm obsessed because most people have done just individual words, but you made a very succinct, you told us the plot in 3 words, in 3 very specific words.
I was on the fence because I also was going to use 2 erections aroused, but I figured I'd class it up.
Yeah, that's fair. Thank you. Though 2 erections aroused is almost more specific because then we know it's gay. Wait, I'm so impressed. I shouldn't be. Okay, now we can unpack that. Let's tell us about the world of Noah and what's going on here.
It follows Noah, who is a failed Broadway writer, and he gets talked into directing his flop show at his small podunk hometown community theater. And he basically writes everybody off as a bunch of hicks and they're not going to know anything. And they start making all of these really insightful suggestions and changes. His broken musical starts getting better. And along the way, since it's a gay rom-com, there's his high school nemesis is everywhere and gorgeous and confuses things. And there's a little sizzle. That's a little sizzle happens along the way. Don't want to spoil everything.
No, of course not. But as all rom-coms tend to go in
Yes.
surmise, there's being somewhat familiar with you and your work. I felt like there was maybe a little bit of Chad in Noah.
Just a little bit. He's a bigger dick than I am. I would never yell at a room full of sweet apple-cheeked people.
Community theater performers.
What's that?
Community theater performers.
Yes, I would not do that. I would never do that. But yeah, it's funny because the idea of walking into opening night for the author or any of the creatives is horrifying because you're sitting there and you're nodding and you're smiling and you're taking pictures and you're doing interviews. But any second, the Times Review is going to drop. And it's excruciating. And I've had both sides of the coin. For my first Broadway musical was The Wedding Singer, and the party's going along, everything's going great. All of a sudden, the room gets really sort of odd and quiet. And I'm like, oh no, it's bad. And Ben Bradley did not like The Wedding Singer.
I did.
And it was,
I liked
it. But it was just the vibe completely changed. People started leaving, and there was talk of, are we even going to run? And so it was just, and it felt so like shameful. It was just awful. And so it was interesting to go back and relive that when I was writing that scene in the book, because it's just everybody knows, and everybody's just looking at you or trying not to look at you with complete pity. And I've had the reverse. I had with Aladdin, we got torn apart out of town in Toronto. We got killed. And so we changed every single thing about that show almost. Like cut characters, cut songs, threw stuff out. And so I was assuming we'd get trashed in the Times. And so I just went in, I was telling myself, like, you did the best you could, and what more can you do? And then all of a sudden, about midway through the party, there was this huge roar and this cheer from the dance floor. And I was like, oh my God, is it good? And Alan Lincoln's agent ran up to me and he said, it's a rave. And I was just like, this is an experience.
I was going to say a little bit of a different feeling, huh?
Yeah, I was like, because with Elf, the other issue, it was the first time having an opposite experience, but it was fun to get to take readers through what that feels like and how, because from the outside, I'm sure it just looks like, oh, it's a nice party, free food, horrifying.
Yeah. This is your first novel.
It is.
How was that journey different from writing a musicale?
It's totally different. I'm learning all these new words. I am apparently pantser. I'm a pantser.
Oh, yes.
Which means that I don't map it out beforehand, which is the exact opposite of a musical because you have collaborators. So every musical I've done, we've done an outline, we've song spotted, we've all agreed on everything, and then we go off and songwriters write the songs, and book writers go off and write the book, and then you get back together and put it together. There was none of that. I had a general idea of where I wanted to go. And it's also especially different compared to writing lyrics, because lyrics, I always think of them as trying to build a ship inside a bottle. There's just so little space. There's so little real estate that every word has to be perfect. And this was just like, no rules, no outline, no nothing. But it was
that freeing or frustrating?
It was freeing, but it was also, I had no idea if I could get it published. And I kept thinking like, oh God, just tell yourself if you don't get it published, it was a good mind exercise, or you did it yourself, or because I didn't know the publishing fiction world at all. But it was also strange because I didn't have collaborators. So it was me just talking to myself and ruminating, and there was nobody really other than my husband to bounce stuff off of. Yeah, it was such a weird experience because you're by yourself. And then I another word, blurbs. I didn't know what blurbs were. So you have to get established writers to read and give you a quote for the book. And I had read Less by Andrew Sean Greer, and Less is Lost, the Pulitzer Prize winning Andrew Sean Greer. And this was way before the book, put it up and said, I'd loved it, whatever, and tagged him in it. And he had said, I loved the Prom. And so I was like, later on, I thought, oh, maybe he'll blurb for it. I slid into his DMs and I was like, is this tacky? And he's, yes, it is, but we all have to do it. So send me the book. So it was very generous of him to blurb, but he also said, it's going to be very different for you when the book comes out, because people will be laughing, but you won't hear it. It's not like a show where you go and you sit and this is working or it's not working. He said, it's just this really divorced process where you might get some feedback or you might get some reviews or people reach out, but it's not like the theater where they're loving it or if they're not. So it's a really different experience all around.
So isolating. And authors all the time talk about not knowing what's going to resonate with people, and nor do they know in the moment. Right. So they'll be on book tour and someone will say, oh, this thing meant so much to me, or I love that this was a metaphor for a blank. And the person is, oh, that is not what I intended, but great. I'm glad that's what you took from it. It's very interesting for it to be in a vacuum that way. I imagine it's not dissimilar from film, right? It's not that live experience in the moment. Though I guess you could walk into a movie theater and see how people are.
Yes. Yeah, that's for sure. But it's funny because also the Marie Michaels is my editor, and she's wonderful. But she was just shocked at how quickly I would turn notes around. And I was like, I have just been dying for some feedback.
Yeah.
I've been like, and my favorite thing now is a line edit, which is where they go through and I want to know more about this, or I need to know where they're standing, or less of this Tolstoy. We don't need that. And I was just thrilled because it was here's somebody who knows what they're talking about saying, how about we get inside this person's head for a little bit? So it was really.
Yeah, it's funny for you coming from theater, which is just so collaborative, to do something that is so individual.
As Luke says to Noah, it's like, you love what you do and you take it. They're knocking it publicly, which is hard to take.
Yeah.
It also just, it escalates for poor Noah because it starts with the cyborg thing and then it goes to the eye gouging and then it's just everything, the book, the lyrics, and it's like everything is wrong. So yeah, but
So funny.
that's smile and take the notes.
Okay, since we're having tea, my prob,
Yes.
is there anyone that
Yes.
you would ever want to have a tea party with? Who is someone that you would dream to sit across the table from?
Definitely Joan Crawford.
Oh, tell me
Like,
more.
Joan Crawford has this book called My Way of Life, and it is, you can open any page and you will be laughing so hard you're crying. It is so hilariously self-important and just, it's like my favorite thing. And I just would love to go back in time, just go to her apartment and just listen to her stories. And
You don't even need to
just,
say anything. You just want to sit there.
yeah, I'll take a cassette recorder and just, yeah, no, she is this. I became obsessed with this book, and now it's like my go-to when I don't know what to give people. I'm like, here, just any page.
So you wrote a book. Are you a reader?
I am, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I especially when I knew I was going to try and write the book, I started reading a lot of gay rom-coms and getting enmeshed in the world. if I
Sure.
could.
Anything that stands out to you is something else you'd want to recommend to people?
I really love the writer Alexis Hall, who wrote boyfriend material and husband material, and he's got a new one coming out called Father Material.
I think
just
it
love
should be called daddy material.
Patty Bay's really, but he's British, so you know.
Right. Very polite.
Yes, but exactly. But yeah, I think he's great. I think
Yeah.
his sense of humor is great, and he always takes you someplace surprising. So yeah, big fan of his.
It's really fun. What are you looking forward to in this, your book coming out into the world thing?
One thing I'm really looking forward to. I'm doing some book signings, but the one I'm really looking forward to is I'm going back to they asked me at my hometown community theater, I do a book signing, and I was like, yeah. So that's going to be fun, and that place was like a second home to me when I was growing up.
Sure.
And they have, whenever I have a show on Broadway, then they do a production once the rights are released, or I'll get them the rights, and so it's really sweet, and so that should be fun. That should be, you know.
Yeah. Word on the street is they're sending out a Google form in advance for you to write notes in. You're going to get feedback.
Excellent.
Right.
Out from the audience if you want.
Right. Shout it from the audience. Chad, is there anything else that you're working on that you want to shout out that people should have on their radars?
Well, I'm working on a new musical with the same creative team from the Prom, and it's called Horrible People.
Great.
And it's about a couple of broke friends who run this failing bakery, and this horrible woman from the Hamptons comes in before she's going to go next door and get plastic surgery, and she falls down into their cellar, and they think she's dead. So they're like, let's steal her identity. So the woman had said, no one's at my house. The kids are at college. My husband's out. And they're like, let's go take her car, steal as much as we can. So they get there. And of course, the family starts coming home one by one. And at the end of Act 1, of course, you think the woman's dead. But of course, we go back to the bakery and she's crawling out of the basement. Dr. Countdown. So we just did a table read with Beth Level as the horrible Hamp woman and Foster as the woman who steals her identity. So we're gonna meet with Casey Nicola, the director, and do some notes, and then start shopping it around. So it's a great group, and we had so much fun on Prom and Elf that it's a great
Yeah.
energy.
Don't fix what ain't broken, right?
Exactly.
Isn't that the phrase? And Elf is on Broadway this holiday season?
Yes, it's coming back. This is actually the West End production. So I would,
cool.
Broadway.
Sure.
But it's that
the
production.
that was over there, yeah.
Yeah. So the set is spectacular. And of course, Santa flies out over to the audience, and it's
Spoiler alert.
And yeah, when you walk out and you're not in a Christmas mood, you have no heart.
Oh, yeah.
You're dead inside. It's just like very awe-inspiring.
Of course. No, Jewish. And after hearing the song, There Is a Santa Claus, I was a believer, full believer. Also, every once in a while, I just shout out Line Dance Follow Me
Right. Yes. Yes.
from The
No.
Wedding Singer, which is one of
Yeah.
my favorite opening numbers of all time. Chad, I'm so excited for you.
Oh, thank you.
Everyone check out Showmance, which is out now by the time this episode airs.
Hope people enjoy the book. And, there's nothing saying that it couldn't be made into a musical. So we'll see what happens.
Yes, for every local podunk community theater to put on.
Exactly.
So funny. Chad, it's so nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
Thank you for being here. And
Thanks for having me. This is
I'm
great.
so glad. I can't wait to see all the things and what's to come. Everyone, go follow us on Instagram. Check out Showmance by Chad Beguelin wherever you get your books. And I'll see you next week. Bye.